understand that time and investment actually bond a man to you more than intercourse ever could. If intercourse was all it took, the women who engage in those acts for a living would be getting proposals every day and have men begging them for commitment left and right. And we all know that isn't the case, because that isn't the key. Hi ladies, welcome back to the Feminine Universe. I am so happy to have you here. I think it's fair to say that most women want to feel cherished, appreciated, and respected when it comes to their romantic relationships. We want to feel like a priority and a first choice. But even though this is what many of us want, there are so many women who end up in good time girl arrangements where they are not cherished and certainly not a priority. Some women don't realize this dynamic is happening until it's too late. Some women end up trapped in the cycle of repeating the same behaviors that keep getting them the same results. And others feel like once they've fallen into this category, they have been typecasted and there is no way out. So they continue on that path. So to do our part to counter this phenomenon and these misunderstandings, today we're going to get into the psychology of the good time girl to figure out why this happens to some women and, more importantly, how to stop it. This is the second of the 5 in-depth breakdowns that I promised from the 5 categories men put women into video. We're going to explore some obvious as well as some not so obvious parts of this dynamic, because even though the good time category is a little more straightforward, there are some overlooked aspects as well as some surprising aspects. Then of course, we're going to talk about how to get out of this dynamic, because we're all about the solutions. So let's get started, shall we? Firstly, let's review what it means and what it looks like to be a good time girl. This one is pretty direct. The good time girl is a woman who is not viewed as a long-term companion or as a serious commitment. Rather, she is viewed as temporary company to have a good time with, especially when it comes to physical intimacy. Her motto is probably something along the lines of, some kind of attention is better than no attention. In the 5 categories video, I used types of cars to symbolize the 5 categories men put women into, and we established that the good time girl is viewed kind of like the race car that a man won't buy because it's impractical, doesn't fit into their real lives, and just isn't viewed as a serious option. But they will test drive it or rent it out for fun on the weekends. The good time girl appears in a few different forms. Sometimes as the one-night stand, also the friend with benefits or situationship, maybe the rebound girl or the beneficial arrangement. Sometimes she's also the other woman, aka the mistress or side chick. In any case, these women tend to be the ones men reach out to after hours or in their spare time. They tend to get that "you up" or WYD text at 1 a.m. or they only hang out on weekends and maybe in very out of the way and out of sight places. Their relationships are usually very focused on physical interactions, and men usually avoid intertwining their lives with hers in ways like meeting family or attending functions together because they don't see it going anywhere long term, or they're embarrassed of her presentation or her reputation if others are aware of it. So if you're dealing with anything that feels like you're kind of getting a man's leftover time, or like they're kind of hiding you, or especially if they blatantly ask you not to tell anyone that you're seeing each other or spending time together, they may very well have placed you in the good time girl category. And now let's talk about why women get placed in this category. Some of the mindsets and root causes overlap with the desperate girl a bit. And one of the main reasons I've observed is that many women in the good time category are trying to fill a void for care, attention, or validation in their life, and they'd rather have someone give them that on a temporary or part-time basis rather than not at all. Other times, these women have been through physical trauma or some sort of violation that has taught them to devalue themselves. Having your autonomy taken from you in that way can severely impact your sense of self-worth and make you feel like you don't deserve better treatment. Other times, these women may not think they're good enough for the man they're with, that he's way out of their league, so they take what they can get with him and hope that maybe over time he will fall for them. It can also be influenced by what they saw growing up. What kind of treatment or behavior did their mom or aunties or sisters and friends accept? Some women also fall for the scam that you're supposed to go through a phase where you give yourself away to people you don't care about and who don't care about you, allegedly for the sake of experimentation and liberation, but it can actually leave them desensitized with loads of baggage. And lastly, sometimes being a good time girl is a conscious choice done as a means to an end, usually financial, or simply because they enjoy the lifestyle. Which brings us to the fact that there are two primary groups of good time girls, the voluntary and involuntary. To be clear, this video is for the women who are in this category involuntarily and want to get out of it, because some people are shocked to find that some women are here voluntarily, that not every woman is looking to be wifed up. Though it's much more rare, some women do date and mate for sport as well. They're not looking to settle down or get married. They just want to have quote unquote fun. Now, everyone is entitled to their own definition of having fun, but as anyone who's ever played sports knows, just because you're playing for fun doesn't mean you can't still get hurt on the field. But ultimately, people are in control of their own lives, and this video is for the women who are in this dynamic involuntarily. And to touch on another surprising fact about this category is that some of these women are genuinely liked by the men they deal with. It's a popular misconception that when it comes to the good time girl, there are never any feelings, that a man can never actually like this woman, and that it's always purely physical. While that's usually the case, it's not always the case. Though most men are looking for a certain kind of woman, not every man is looking for a good girl. Not every man is looking for a prim and proper lady. Just like some women love bad boys, some men love quote-unquote bad girls. So while most men see good time girls as someone to fulfill certain needs with before moving on, I'd say somewhere around 10% of the time, a man may actually like the good time girl as more. But it can truly be a matter of her just not fitting into or not being respectable in other parts of his life. Either family or professional circles won't accept her, and in turn, they would also judge him and look at him differently. Which is why sometimes men will marry the type of women they think they're supposed to be with, the one that fits into their family or professional aesthetic, but spend the entire marriage pursuing his actual type on the side. It can also be a matter where he says, I like you as a person and I genuinely enjoy spending time with you, but he wouldn't want you raising his daughters. Or more specifically, he wouldn't want his daughters turning out like you. And that is a consideration many men and women make. Not just what kind of partner will the person be to them, but also what kind of parent they would be to any potential children. So if it does feel like there's an actual connection for you in this dynamic, I wouldn't completely call that crazy. It is possible, but do understand that they probably still won't make it official if that's what you ultimately want, because it just doesn't fit in with other parts of their life. Now, if you find yourself in this category often or currently and you're ready to get out of it, I have 6 tips or solutions for you to try. The first one is to set your boundaries and standards. One of the first ways to take your power back in this kind of dynamic is to spend some time with yourself and actually decide what you want, because you can't get what you want until you know what you want. Going with the flow will get you caught up. You have to get out of the mindset that because you've accepted something in the past, that means you have to keep accepting it in the present or in the future. So regardless of what you're dealing with now and what you've dealt with before, take a second right now to think about how you would want to be treated in your ideal situation. What are the things you don't want any more of? What are the things that you've dealt with that made you feel bad, that made you feel less than? Put those on your boundaries list of things you don't want to deal with anymore. Then think about what would make you feel respected What would make you feel cherished, appreciated, important? Those are basically your standards and what you should look for and require going forward. And if you need more detailed help on setting boundaries and raising your standards, I have full videos on each topic that you can watch after this one. Solution number 2 is don't lead with your body. A lot of the women who end up in the good time girl category are used to getting attention or validation, at least to some extent, because of their looks, their bodies, the way they dress, or their willingness to engage in physical intimacy. So when I say don't lead with your body, I mean it on all of those levels, from what you wear, to what you talk about, to the access you give. Now, I'm not trying to be the morality police or push any beliefs on anyone, but similarly to how I said in the last video that women who lead with their degrees and their income tend to attract men who are after a woman's money, leading with your body will also tend to attract men who are only after a woman's body. This doesn't mean you have to dress or move like a nun either, but at least seek out balance. If you are giving a little cleavage, cover up the legs. If a dress is on the shorter side, cover up on top. If something is very form-fitting, then don't opt to also show a lot of skin. If there's some skin showing, try to go for something a little bit looser and fit. Mix and match to create a balanced look instead of an over-the-top look. Also remember, different things look different on different people and body types. I mentioned this back in my pretty and polished video. Something that is a peekaboo style on a smaller chested person can be very much an eyeful on someone with a bigger bust. So for example, if you're built like a brick house, you do not need to do as much to accentuate your figure. Overall, the energy should be that my body is a part of me that I love and respect and I'm proud of, but it's not the main attraction or the only thing I have to offer. Tip number 3 is to know the signs. Know what to look for in a man's behavior, but also be aware of what your behavior may be unwittingly signaling to keep from getting placed in this category without even realizing it. On his part, you want to be on the lookout for over-the-top or obscene comments about your body. You look beautiful, you look stunning, those are great. Graphic comments are not a good sign. If he compliments nothing but your body the entire time, also not a good sign. Look out for attempts to get physical too soon, whether that's going in for a kiss on the lips upon first meeting or putting his hand on your thigh if you're seated side by side for drinks or something like that. Another red flag is wanting to skip the dates altogether and trying to go straight to your place, or even worse, trying to have you travel to his, which shows he's not even willing to put in the effort to travel to you. Also, take note if he's always wanting to go out at strange times. Is he always trying to get drinks at 9 or 10 p.m., but never dinner at 7? On your end, be aware of what signals you may be giving. Be cautious of doing too much touching or of where you're touching. What's acceptable or suggestive can vary depending on location and culture. A hand on his knee may be taken as a signal of sorts by some men. And when it comes to what you talk about, don't make raunchy or suggestive jokes very early on, even if that's kind of in line with your sense of humor. If they bring up something that is raunchy or inappropriate, don't respond positively to it and feel free to shut it down or to redirect the conversation. Which brings me to the next tip. Tip number 4 is to get comfortable saying no, and I will provide a few examples throughout. If they're clearly violating your boundaries or being over the top, a clear no is in order. If it's a lighthearted, flirty type of banter, feel free to respond with banter of your own. If you're not sure or it seems to be taking a suggestive path, you may prefer to change the subject or state your alternative. Like if he invites you to his place after a first date, you can say something like, I actually prefer to get to know people on neutral territory until I can decide if I feel safe or comfortable being one-on-one with them. Don't let anyone take for granted that they are entitled to being in one-on-one situations with you. Now, if this is someone you've been dealing with for a while and you're trying to get out of being seen as the good time girl, you can say something more like, I know your work days are exhausting, so it's easier to come by and just chill on weeknights, but I think we should get out a little bit more. So you just get some rest tonight and let me know if you want to plan something for this weekend. Now, you have to accept that for the men who only wanted bedroom activities, you may not hear from him again. But sometimes there are men who will step up and provide courtship once it becomes a requirement if they also like you as a person and not just a bedmate. The next tip is to learn about and understand men. If you want a relationship and commitment, you must understand yourself and your needs, but also understand the other party involved. It's not just about the end goal, it's about the journey. Realize that a lot of what men say they like from women is not necessarily what will earn you respect from them. It's similar to how a lot of kids will tell you they want to eat cake and ice cream and candy all day. It's not a lie per se, they do like those things, but it will also make them sick. Understand the benefits of delayed gratification. Understand that it is completely normal to want to bond with someone, but understand that time and investment actually bonds a man to you more than intercourse a lot of the time. Ask the women who engage in these kind of acts for a living if men are running back to them with rings after being intimate with them, or if they're getting proposals and being begged for commitment by high-quality men left and right. These women tend to be quite direct, and they'll tell you the answer is no, because intercourse alone is not what bonds a man to you, or else one-night stands wouldn't even be possible. Now, it can absolutely deepen a bond and help you connect on another level with someone who already loves you and cares for you, but it will not make someone who doesn't care about you suddenly love you. It just doesn't work that way. And for my ladies who feel like being less physical right away and setting boundaries will scare men away, it will. It definitely will. And that is a good thing because it will get the wrong kinds of men away from you quickly. Do you really want to be with a man who gets furious because a woman he's just met doesn't want to go back to his place after the first date? That's not the quality of man you want. And my last tip or solution is to fill your time and change your mind. When you've had a lot of your value attached to your body for a while, it's easy to get tricked into subconsciously thinking that that may be all you have to offer. So a great way to begin to reverse that thinking is to fill your time with other things, especially with things that put you in touch with the fact that you're more than your physical self. Things like fitness, because while there is a physical aspect to it, it also requires quite a bit of mental strength and grit to keep pushing. It requires a mind-body connection to execute certain moves. It takes discipline to show up every day and to stick to a routine. Another way to tap into your mental side is through reading, writing, trying new things, and things that make you think and use your mind in different ways. Therapy is another great way to tap into and better understand your mind. It can help you understand your pain points and what voids you're trying to fill. Of course, you can also tap into your spiritual side as well. Read your scriptures, pray, meditate, nourish your soul. You are a whole person. You have a mind that is capable of so much. You are made up of a body, soul, and spirit that all deserve respect and care. Do things that remind you of that and that celebrate that. Now, for all my ladies who are listening who don't identify as good time girls, I'm going to stick a quick PSA in here and say we need to do better at embracing these women. I've said this in my 10 Laws of Girl Code video. When we ostracize a woman for being different from us, whether it's dressing more provocatively or having more of a past or whatever it is, we make them more of a target and easier prey for men. Ultimately, we're all going to want some form of human acceptance, and if we can't get it in one place, we are going to get it in another. And for these women, if they feel like every room they walk into, every girl hates them and is giving them dirty looks or whatever it is, they're only going to become that much more male identified because they don't feel welcomed in the feminine space or in the feminine circle. I'm not saying you have to move anyone into your home and leave them with your husband while you work or anything dramatic, but a simple hi at an event, or even if you don't vibe with her outfit but her hair or makeup looks nice, say that. Let her know the door is open and that you're not choosing to immediately judge her or hate her without knowing her story. I hope this helped. To all my ladies in good time girl situations, understand that you have the option to choose, the power to change, and the right to evolve the minute that you choose to. It may not happen all at once. You may need to watch this a few times, but I believe that you deserve to be a priority and not just an option. I just need you to believe that too. Until next time, ladies, stay feminine, stay focused, and have fun.